I have to go all the way down here if I want to get all the books in there, but I can't do that. Here, Moonlight Weeps. We'll stay up here. I guess so. Where's the new one? Did I give them all away already? What's this one? Moonlight Sonata. I guess I gave all my author copies away. Welcome to Writer's Life, a place where you get the sight, sound, smells, taste of my particular writer's life, and where you get the truth about the writer's life. So subscribe if you haven't already. Punch out the like button and tap the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on one exciting video. How exciting they are. I read an interesting statistic today. Well, it's not even a stat. It's a reality. It's just a fact of life. I guess the fact of life can be a stat. Anyway, so to receive a degree in journalism from the Columbia School of Journalism, which is prestigious. I've actually been written about in the Columbia School of Journalism magazine or periodical or whatever they put out. I was interviewed by them once because some of my stories were being plagiarized. So anyway, sounds like I'm blowing my horn, and I am a little bit, but anyway. But it costs $120,000 for that education, for a degree in journalism. Now, 95% of the people who graduate with that journalism degree, who are going to owe $100,000 or whatever in student loans or whatever, are going to end up living in their parents' basement because journalism's dead. It's not only dying, it's dead. I mean, if you want to join an organization and toe the party line and do what the advertisers tell you to do and write what they tell you to write and how to write it, if you want to be that kind of person, then you might be able to get a job with that kind of degree. But if you want to be like a real journalist, you're probably going to end up writing for free for a year or two at least, like on Substack and Medium, just to try to get some clips. And it just, I don't know, to me, not the best decision to make. Not, get into something else, be a rocket scientist. A buddy of mine, his son is a rocket scientist for NASA. It cracks me up. Like, what's your son do? He's a rocket scientist. It's like saying your son's a brain surgeon. Anyway, I think it's cool. Anyway, not what this is about. Ideas. I've talked about this before, but I haven't talked about it in a long time. And I'm prolific, so what's one of the major questions I get all the time? Where do your ideas come from? And I don't fucking know. They just come to me. I just put up for pre-order Cashless Bail. It's one of in my new Metaman series, which is sort of a sci-fi Twilight Zone-ish type series. It's not Star Wars. It's kind of a time travel type thing, which I love. I'm fascinated with time travel stuff. But anyway, and that's why I write it, because I love it. Anyway, but with this whole cashless bail thing and like repeat offenders, kicking the shit out of people, and New York City being plagued with it, and it's it was instituted purely on for ideological reasons, not practical reasons, not for safety reasons, but just for ideological reasons. Like the communists would have done years ago and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, I had to get that into a story because I am very much opposed to it, and I don't mind saying so. I prefer a safer environment, and therefore there should be bail. Anyway, I do, however, understand that a lot of violent offenders are minorities. They're broke. They're whatever. I understand that, but there's got to be another way to fix it other than cashless bail, where you just catch and release. Okay, so that is one of the type of idea that'll like plague me for the longest time. And I'll be like, how can I put that in a story without it being the story? And I think I succeeded with Cashless Bail, the Metaman story. It's 125 pages, so it's a novella really, or a short novel. But that's not what the whole thing is about, you know. Like it ends up being like this huge thing, and he goes back in time, ironically, to the year 2020 when he was still a teenager. But because when you go back in time, like I think Einstein said this, or even established, he did say like if you can bend time and actually go back in time, things will be the same but not the same. Like they'll be different. They'll be slightly different. It'll be slightly off. So like in my story, like the pandemic has hit because it's 2020, but it's the pandemic on steroids. Like people are like being bagged up and piled in the streets in my story and stuff like this. So you can have a lot of fun with stuff like that. But as far as ideas go, they come to me all the time, sometimes 2 and 3 times a day. And sometimes I write them down and sometimes I don't. And sometimes people give me ideas. For instance, speaking of reporting and newspapers and stuff like that, our local newspaper reported on a guy who like went out for like a coffee. He had a family and a wife. And about 10 years ago, he went out for like a coffee and he just was like, fuck it, and never came home. He disappeared. And they recently found him under another identity, living like just like 40 miles away. And like he was this, pillar of society where he was living, and it was like firemen and all this sort of stuff. Like that's an idea, like that's cool. You could do something with that. And someone gave that to me, and they were like, "I was thinking of you when I was reading this." I was like, "Well, thank you." And then there's ideas that don't come to me at all. I just write. I'm writing a new Moonlight called Moonlight Destruction, and it's just a book that I'm writing. I don't know what's happening from chapter to chapter. Um, as you get going into the story, you start then your brain starts working. You're like, well, this is probably going to lead to this, which is going to lead to this, which is going to lead to this. And you make little notes and whatever. And the story builds itself. And the more surprising, the better. Because I'm also doing the same thing with the new Chase Baker and the Period of Madness. Like I knew when I saw photographs of the Miskatonic University expedition from 1931. I don't know if that's staged or it's real. And the pyramid they found and ancient structures that they claim are millions of years old. I'm like, I got to write a story about that. That's a Chase Baker story. And then combining that with like Lovecraft's sci-fi and all this sort of stuff that he did in the 20s and 30s. I came up with a vague idea of what I wanted to do, but it's working out well. 150 pages into it, and Chase Baker and his love interest in this particular story. Remember, he's kind of a James Bondish character. He's always got a new love interest. They've just arrived in the South Pole, and they're about to embark on their expedition to this pyramid that's has the answers to everything. So anyway, so my ideas, I don't know, it can be the strangest thing. I wrote a novel that will come out from Down and Out finally will come out. I wrote it like 3 years ago. It'll come out in March, I think. March or April. Her Darkest Secret. Like that came about just like I was in a supermarket with a girlfriend of mine, and we had a couple of drinks, and I knocked in carts into some other dude's cart, and we laughed about it. And I was like, I hope you have good insurance and all that, ha ha ha. Anyway, but I was like, what? On the way back to my place, I kept thinking, like, what if that guy was sort of a lunatic and like he follows us out of the grocery store and was like, apologize. And and just one thing led to another, and led to another, and he tailgated you, and and things got worse and worse and worse and worse. And what if what if it ended up like she somehow knew him but kept it a secret, and the plot she thickens like you wouldn't believe. So I like stuff like that. I wrote a story once about um, I was I had pulled into a bar, and I had nearly dinged the door in a brand new Dodge Ram right next to me, but I didn't, thank God. But I was like, what if I dinged his door and just like kind of like kept shut my mouth about it? But he went outside and found it, and he came back in the bar and he's like, "Who fucking dinged my door? I want to know right now." Like that could lead to like real trouble. And that became like I'm not sure if that's a Moonlight story or not. I wrote it about God, probably like 8 years ago now or whatever. But ideas just it's the key is like it's not the big subjects that make for the best ideas. It's just the little things. It's just the little things that happen if you're observant enough. The worst, however, is when your subconscious goes to work and it starts digging around. When you sleep sometimes at night, have you ever noticed that you have like sometimes you have really intense dreams, right? And even vivid dreams where you're paralyzed and you can't move. And then there are times where your subconscious is just lazy as all hell, and dreams suck. There's nothing interesting happening with them or whatever. And I swear to God, those are the nights where the subconscious says, "Well, let's make a story." And like let's go over to creative brain's side and knock on his door and see what he's up to. And then I wake up like two or three in the morning, and I have a decent idea in my head, and suddenly creative brain wants to start plotting the story out, and you can't help it. You're like, I refuse to get up and write it down. I just refuse to. That whole romantic image of the writer like flicking the light on and writing down. Like my philosophy is if I can remember it in the morning, then it's a good idea, and that's why I don't. And if I can't, then it wasn't a good idea anyway. It's kind of my philosophy, or it's kind of the same reason why even when I'm awake, if I have an idea, I usually don't write it down because more often than not, the ideas I write down, I don't pursue. It's the ideas that keep nagging me that I pursue, and I think that's probably true for a lot of writers. So anyway, there you have it. Ideas. My latest update on ideas, because I know you guys are always interested in that. Where do you come up with the ideas? Believe it or not, you yourself probably have ideas for stories all the time, and you probably just don't realize it because life is happening and life takes over and you move on. All right. I hope to come to you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Thursday already. Wow. All right. And I will see you then. And for now, ciao, ciao.